These 5 people are worth nearly $500 million, and they're ready to invest their own money into the best business ideas they hear. But can anyone convince them to part with their cash?
You've just assumed that we're part of the problem and you're inviting us to be part of the solution. Well, I personally resent it.
Why would we be encouraging our children to stay on trikes?
Congratulations, you got on television.
I find it embarrassing to see such bloody mindlessness being taught to little girls. It's pathetic.
Dragon's Den is a true test for any budding entrepreneur wanting to sell their idea. Cash-hungry business people from all over New Zealand come pitching anything from technology to advertising in toilets. But success hinges on the Dragons putting their own money on each person they see. So who are our 5 investors? The Dragons in the Den.
Our first dragon, Sir Bob Jones, built his empire by first investing in commercial property. His wealth now stands at more than $200 million, making him one of the country's leading entrepreneurs. Julie Christie made her $25 million in the media industry. She sold her multi-million-dollar entertainment company earlier this year and has other investments ranging from hospitality to a South Pacific resort. Paul Webb started the cut-price airline CityJet. However, he hit the headlines when the company collapsed in 1999, but has since rebuilt his personal fortune to more than $20 million through investments in companies ranging from media to commercial fishing. Aucklander Annette Presley is worth more than $35 million. She started off investing in recruitment before buying and transforming Australian telecom businesses, and she's now the face and owner of internet firm Slingshot. Barry Colman started off his $130 million fortune in the publishing industry as founder of Liberty Press. He also has many high-end investments, ranging from retail through to aircraft manufacturing.
First up tonight, the Dragons aren't only looking for a good business idea, they're also looking for a great entrepreneur to invest in. Will 28-year-old Kimberly Ramsey meet their requirements? Will this performance persuade the Dragons to part with $250,000 in exchange for 25% of her company? And remember, she must get at least that, or she goes away with nothing.
My name's Kimberly Ramsey and I am the founder of All Star Cheerleaders. We teach American-style cheerleading. Cheerleading is a multi-million-dollar business in America, and it's also the fastest-growing team sport in the US and the UK. So what we've done and what's different about us as opposed to other cheerleading clubs or dance classes, we have put up a whole syllabus of cheerleading and created how to teach cheerleading from the very first step. I mean, it's a new sport in New Zealand. We were the first ones to establish cheerleading. What we've done is we've got not just a coaching syllabus on how to teach cheerleading, but what's different about us is that we can teach cheerleading to coaches and how to teach cheerleading. Our program's very unique. It's not being done like we do it anywhere else in the world, so we think we have potential to establish it across Australia, into Asia, and possibly into Europe as well. What we do different is we have branded All Star Cheerleaders. We also have the trademark for All Star in New Zealand.
Isn't that already owned by Scalar-up All-Stars?
Not in that particular category, not in the sporting category. So in the trademarking, there's lots of different categories you can have. So for All-Star in the sporting category, and I think like sporting tuition is what I trademarked it in, and I think also merchandising or some other. There's two that I've got the trademark and registered trademark for.
The All-Star cheerleaders' routine may have been shaky, but Paul Webb wants to know if the business opportunity's more stable. Kimberly wants $250,000 and in return is prepared to give up 25% of her company.
What are your current numbers?
Our current numbers, we have 400 students.
What are you turning over? And what's your profit?
Our profit is $70,000 last year.
On a turnover of?
It was $300,000.
Kimberly, hi, I'm Annette.
Hi.
If I give you $250,000, what are you going to do with it?
Established 4 new schools, so in Christchurch, Wellington, Hamilton, and expand our East Auckland branch. In the first year, I would imagine the gross profit to be $22,500. That's based on having an area manager full-time. Now, that school, that's not full capacity. When it's at full capacity, which is 186 students, that is fees for the year of $123,000 and a gross profit of $76,000 for each of the schools. Then we also run elite programs, which is we trial girls. They'll come in and trial to be an elite cheerleading team.
Elite?
Yes.
Can you define the word for me?
Elite. They're like our top cheerleaders, so kind of like the All Blacks of cheerleaders. So the girls that you just saw here are our elite cheerleaders. They train up to 10 hours a week and they go through a tryout process to make that team.
How did you think their elite performance went just then? Because I think they didn't go very well at all, really, did they, to be called elite? They virtually dropped the girl, didn't they?
Well, they didn't drop her, but yeah, they didn't hit their stunt like they should have. I was a bit disappointed.
Do you want to get them back in and do it again?
No.
I think if you're going to call them elite, then they'd better look like it, really.
Come on, girls.
Kimberly's cheerleading squad delivers a near-flawless performance, but is it enough to convince Julie Christie the All-Stars are worth a $250,000 investment?
Have you seen the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders?
That's complete. There's 2 different styles of cheerleading in America. We're the sports side of cheerleading and not the eye candy cheerleading, if you'd like.
See, I would dispute that because I would say, having seen the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, they've got better abs than any All Black. They are athletes.
Yep, they are.
Their weight is monitored on a daily basis.
We're no stereotypes. Everybody's welcome. Every kid's welcome. It's about building their self-confidence and getting in a team and having fun. And I mean, sport's a growing industry, so.
How have you funded it so far?
It's funded itself.
From day one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well done.
I started with nothing and it funded itself.
Good on you.
Yeah.
So where do you see the business in 5 years' time?
In 5 years' time,
What's it going to look like?
I would like to see it licensed and franchised throughout New Zealand and into Australia and the South and in Asia. Maybe taking it over to England. I know it's growing in England, but nobody does it like we do. And nobody's selling the franchise or the license or the program like we are, so I believe it's got a huge market. I've been approached by somebody to take the program over to South Africa because it's very new and it's very exciting and people are really interested in it.
Despite her nerves, Kimberly has proven her business is already turning over a profit and has the potential to be licensed overseas. However, Barry Colman can't see past the negative image cheerleading can portray.
How do you feel about the sort of going against the grain beauty pageants of politically incorrect and cheerleaders and those sorts of things?
That's not
what frowned on by the...
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of where we want to squash that stereotypical view.
Sorry, no, it doesn't interest me, so
okay.
I'm out.
Thank you.
I've got millions of daughters from 3 to 40, unfortunately, and I'd hate to see one of my daughters doing that. I'd be so embarrassed. I would. I'd be embarrassed, humiliated. I'd disinherit her. It could be worse. I mean, if her son joined the Scouts movement, I'd murder him. But so don't take that too much to heart. I find it embarrassing to see such bloody mindlessness being taught to little girls. It's pathetic. It's not a sport. And I wouldn't want to be part of it.
2 dragons are already out. Bob Jones has condemned Kimberley's cheerleading business for being trivial and worthless. So will the remaining 3 dragons think the same, or will they throw the All-Stars a $250,000 lifeline?
What do you do for a normal job then?
This is my normal job. Before that, I was a lawyer, a tax lawyer.
A lawyer?
Yes.
From lawyer to cheerleader, good on you.
Saw the light, eh?
It may not be science fiction to imagine that within a decade we may have to dress like this to survive in a toxic world.
Kimberley Ramsey has come to Dragon's Den looking for a $250,000 investment in return for 25% of her all-star cheerleading company. Only Annette Presley, Paul Webb and Julie Christie remain. So does the business opportunity stack up for $250,000?
What's to stop you teaching someone to do it, them going and setting up in the gym down the road?
People are now starting to think cheerleading, they're thinking all-star. We'll all be so big, we're the only ones that offer competitions, so if someone wanted to set up down the road, they wouldn't be able to enter our competitions, they couldn't be in our elite teams, they wouldn't be performing at the performance opportunities that we can offer, so it would kind of be like little poor cousin down the road, really.
What do you do for a normal job then?
This is my normal job. Before that, I was a lawyer, a tax lawyer.
A lawyer?
Yes.
From lawyer to cheerleader, good on you.
Saw the light, eh? It's pretty impressive. I'm definitely interested, but I'd want more than 25%.
Okay.
I'd like 50% of the business.
Paul Webb may have offered the full amount Kimberley's asking for, but he wants more than double the equity stake. So will Annette Presley come up with a better deal?
Yeah, I'm interested. If I look at your profit of 70k now, I think your valuation is probably a little bit overcapitalised. Yeah, I'm happy to go on 25% at 125k.
Annette Presley's willing to take the 25%, but only wants to contribute half the amount Kimberley needs to leave Dragon's Den. So for Annette to strike a deal, she'll need to partner up with another dragon. Will Julie Christie be tempted?
I'll go 25% for 125k.
Well, I'm still at 50% for the 250, and I'm happy to share that with Annette or with Julie.
Okay.
So Paul Webb's decided he'll take a partner in his original offer of $250,000 for 50%. With all 3 dragons desperate to invest in all-star cheerleading, Kimberley is going to have to make one of the most important decisions in her business life. Will it be a partnership with Paul and Annette, or Paul and Julie?
Oh, for me, it's got to be 51%, or
Okay.
I'm out.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
It's you two.
Okay, well, we've got
That'd
a
be
deal.
great.
We've got a deal.
Yep, excellent.
Okay.
Kimberley has tamed the dragons. She's got the $250,000 she came for, and Paul Webb and Annette Presley have each taken a 25% share in her company.
I think that everyone's overlooked the opportunity with sponsorship. There's a big marketing opportunity there. You've got how many thousands of children that'll be your captive audience.
The merchandising is actually where...
It is definitely a market, you know, with my children that is not being tapped.
Well, that was fantastic. Well done, Kimberly. You actually had 3 of them fighting over you at one stage.
Yeah.
Did you expect that today?
No, I didn't. I didn't at all. I kind of came in thinking that I would get some exposure for cheerleading and, do a pitch and walk away empty-handed, really.
But you didn't come through completely unscathed. Bob Jones said pathetic, humiliating. What do you think of that?
I didn't want to bite because I didn't want to get into a discussion on how I think cheerleading is a sport, and obviously the other Dragons thought so too, but I mean, it's not humiliating or embarrassing. Cheerleading is a sport, and the girls train really hard, just like any other sport, so...
Well done. Fantastic stuff. We'll see the All-Stars down the line.
Wonderful, thank you.
Stepping into Dragon's Den is a steep learning curve for many entrepreneurs who arrive unprepared for the onslaught of 5 savvy investors with lots of money but little time. Former real estate agent John Felton battled an attack of nerves and struggled to even explain his signage business.
I'm from Stand Upon Limited. I was in real estate 7 years ago, and I noticed that the signs were awfully hard to put into the ground. Blew over, and I thought there had to be a better way. And I have patents on the slide-in system and what am I trying to say? Design registration on various aspects of the product.
If his pitch was bad, it only got worse when he mistook Annette Presley for the country's Minister of Police, Annette King.
Look, hey, I haven't moved into politics recently. It's not my name.
That's a big mistake, isn't it?
Bob Jones thought John's secure signage was anything but.
How can you patent something that just drives on the ground?
You'd have to ask my patent attorney.
There's an anomaly. Either the thing is so rare nobody's going to steal it because it's evident, or it's so commonplace they will steal it. You're just replacing a stake, which works perfectly well, with an expensive variation on the grounds of neatness. I don't think it's an issue. I think you're solving a non-existent problem.
Coming up, the Dragons have their environmental heartstrings tugged.
I invite you, the Dragons, to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
But will it backfire on Lisa Talbot's Conscious campaign?
How did you get here today?
In my car?
Most greenies do have the smokiest cars, that's why I thought I'd ask.
Our next entrepreneur's got big expectations and wants to make money tackling the world's environmental issues. Lisa Talbot's come to the den seeking $50,000 and in return is offering 25% of her idea.
Kia ora, Dragons. It may not be science fiction to imagine that within a decade we may have to dress like this to survive in a toxic world. We are faced with a myriad of environmental catastrophes. I'll just get into something more comfortable.
We haven't had a strip show on this thing yet. Is this going to go for long?
Do you need music for this?
So what is Conscious? Conscious is a multifaceted business that will revolutionise the way we shop and live our lives.
Can I stop you just there and ask you one question before you keep going?
Sure.
How did you get here today?
In my car?
Does it smoke a lot?
No, I maintain it regularly, keep my tyres pumped up.
Most greenies do have the smokiest cars, that's why I thought I'd ask.
Let her finish, Paul.
So Conscious is a multifaceted business that will revolutionise the way we approach consumption. It has 3 streams of income. Education, which is the key to changing our psychology around the way we consume things every day. Consultancy, which will help all business and all sectors of the community to clean up their acts. And retail, which will supply a broad range of products ranging from art supplies, natural art supplies, to clothing, toys, organic food. A one-stop shop for everything we use and consume on a daily basis.
What's the proposition?
I'm asking for $50,000 for 25%. So I invite you, the Dragons, to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Lisa and her personal crusade conscious have already come under attack from Paul Webb. So far, she's highlighted her campaign for the environment, but has Lisa clearly outlined her business proposal?
I just have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm selling the business.
You've got a consultancy business, is that right, called Conscious?
Well, Conscious has
and you try and get income from
aspects.
educating people, consulting people, and selling a few art supplies. So this is your idea rather than the reality of your current business.
How much profit do you make out of it?
We have, I have the contract with the council for supplying worms for their Worms in Schools program.
Worms.
Worms.
And how much revenue is that going to bring you in?
At the moment, about $10,000 per annum.
This forum's supposed to be about financial investment. And you're not putting a financial investment program to it. You're saying that all this is all very worthy and that would we please pay your salary so you can go on doing it. There's absolutely nothing new here. You know, don't burn plastic, use your car less. I'm sick of people telling me that. I'll tell you what, if you came in here with an advocacy to tell people to do the opposite, it would be so refreshing, I'd put the money up. So look, I'm out, Lisa, thank you.
Lisa's floundering in her pitch. She's failed to present a worthy investment opportunity, and a frustrated Bob Jones is out. So can she appeal to the 4 remaining Dragons' conscience and get the $50,000 she came for?
Congratulations, you got on television to tell people about how screwed up we are in terms of not looking after the environment and acting the wrong way, and hopefully you got a message through to the public of New Zealand that we should maybe change how we act. You've got a passion, you've got a dream, but you don't have a business that any of us can invest in and make money out of, which is what this show's about, so I'm out.
I am still completely unclear about what you do. I think you're trying to be a retailer and an educator and a consultant, and at the moment I don't understand because it's also airy-fairy. You're trying to solve the problems of the world when you really don't have a way of solving the problems of the world. So I'm out.
You stand here and say to us that we should all start using the public transport or take a bus or a cycle or walk or whatever. You're happy enough to drive your car around the place. I think that's terrible. So I'm out.
4 Dragons are out. They've unleashed a scathing attack on Lisa and her pitch, and her only hope now lies with Barry Colman. So will he take a softer line and see a profit in pushing the environmental dollar?
You've just assumed that we're part of the problem and you're inviting us to be part of the solution. Well, I personally resent it. And I think business people in New Zealand are sick and tired of being told they're part of the problem. Most entrepreneurs are not part of the environment problem at all. There's probably more entrepreneurs tied up in trying to solve the problems of pollution than there ever would be in making pollution. It's a typical greenie approach. I personally resent it, and I think most business people these days do. So I'm out.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
The conscious idea has found little favour with the Dragons. They've struggled to see how Lisa's cause could become a money-making business, and she's left the den with nothing.
You can't have art supplies and be an educator for the council and this and that.
Well, I quite like that idea of making 10 grand a year from growing worms.
Oh, worms are very, very important in the soil.
Are they?
Oh, God.
Hell yeah, it's incredibly important.
Lisa, do you feel as though you were the lamb to the slaughter in there?
I sure do. Yeah, I feel like I went about it the wrong way. I was judged by lots of external factors rather than just myself and my idea. I could have articulated the business aspect a lot better.
Very early on in your pitch, Paul interrupted you and effectively wrote you off, didn't he?
Yeah, that really put me off, and I think it was completely unnecessary. He didn't even give me a chance.
How has the whole experience left you feeling?
I was pretty shattered walking out, but it's been really good. It's really been a catalyst for refining my plans, and I have a good business idea and I will pursue it. It hasn't weakened my resolve. I am going to do this and I will continue.
Great. Well, wish you the best of luck with it. You're obviously going to persevere, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Coming up, a mobile dreaming platform for children has one Hawke's Bay father following his grand plans to make millions.
I'd like Triktrike to be known globally and for as many years as possible and not just be a 5-minute phase.
And will the Dragons see big profits in permeable paving?
Everything that goes down a stormwater drain, by and large, ends up in our marine environment. What we are able to do, the rainwater falls and goes straight back into the ground.
Entrepreneur Darren Wilson from Hawke's Bay needs $100,000 to help him bring an old idea back to life. But will the Dragons have the same passion for his idea? He's offering 40% of his company.
Hi, my name is Darren Wilson, and these are my Triktrikes. Around 60 years ago, grandparents and older people, probably like myself, would have had one of these. They were a very expensive item in their day. It's been at least 35 years since you were able to buy them, and a lot of research, and I haven't found anyone anywhere in the world that has been selling them. This one here is Triktrike. Not only is it Triktrike, which is a registered trademark, but also we have the character Triktrike, the adventures of Brad and Triktrike. I've been writing books, children's books, which are not only fun, but they're also educational, because these are a mobile dreaming platform for children. I'd like Triktrike to be known globally and for as many years as possible and not just be a 5-minute phase. I'm creating a character. It could be its own television program. I'd like $100,000 for a 40% share in my company. That money would be used to visit several factories in China. So what I'd like to do is I would like to find, well, actually I've already sourced several different manufacturers, but of course I need to visit them. I've been to China and I've been to Australia to meet with manufacturers. I would like to, what would I like to do? Sell it globally, basically.
Darren's clearly passionate in his ambitious plans to make Triktrike a global brand. He's impressed the Dragons with working prototypes of his bikes and books. However, will the real test market get behind the wheel?
Why is it called a Triktrike? What tricks does it do?
You'd have to see my son to do that one. Like, you know, he pedals it on one wheel, he rides it on 2 wheels. On his one, he has a board that he made, which he sits his friends on and pedals around, and it's a very safe tricycle.
I think they're really cool. I think we're underestimating how much cool too means to children. But anyway, we as parents seem to spend a lot of time when our children are about 5 years old getting them off trainer wheels and onto 2-wheeled bikes, because obviously they're much more manoeuvrable. Why would we be encouraging our children to stay on trikes?
I think it's more about the dream I have created with the stories of the book and the tricycle itself and the other products that go with it. I mean, kids have Thomas the Tank Engine T-shirts and pyjamas and stuff, you know, and when they're 4 years old, it's their favourite shirt. Why not Triktrike and the adventures he has? Why can't they go into the backyard and do skids on the lawn and pretend that their tricycle is magical? I think it's time that the chain bike came back into fashion.
I'm a bit baffled. Am I missing something here? I mean, I admire your passion and joie de vivre about the whole thing. It's lovely. But it's a trike. I mean, am I missing something? You're offering a trike, they already exist.
Could you show me one?
Oh, don't they?
You can buy trikes, but they have 10-inch wheels and they normally pedal in the front. This is chain-driven.
Well, so what? I just don't see you've got a product there, mate, so I'm out.
Bob Jones is out. Darren's attempt to convince the Dragons his three-wheeler could be the next big thing for kids so far hasn't worked. Paul Webb decides to find out if there's any financial substance to Ricky Triktrike.
Have you had any prices from China, or...?
Can I say that on TV?
Well, we need to know.
I had a price of $40 US, but my advisor said that it was $10 too dear.
$100,000, that's going to get you, enable you to visit factories in China?
Yes.
And
pay for
what else?
samples.
Pay for samples?
Which will then be distributed to a sales agent.
How much are those then?
In New Zealand, they would retail for $2.29.
But I can buy one for $45 that cycles a different way with bigger wheels as a parent.
A very small plastic one for a child that's just started walking.
Well, my son's 9. There's no way you, unless it does something really spectacular and he can kill himself on it, he's not going to ride one of those. Tell me, what are you going to do that's going to make the parents want to buy this for their children?
What am I going to do? Well, if I went to a department store with a dozen of these in 10 different colours today, they'd be all gone.
Have you tried that? Have you taken these to department stores?
No, I haven't. I've kept it pretty... I was doing discussions with a purchaser of a large company, but unfortunately he left. But we are still speaking...
Are you talking to anyone at the moment that's really keen on this?
Not at the moment.
It may well be a great idea, but I think it's going to take a huge amount of marketing money, maybe a television show, to influence the children that are out there to come and bug the parents to buy them. So for that reason, good luck, and I'm out.
Mother of two Annette Presley hasn't seen her buying public for Triktrike, and she's out. With only 3 Dragons remaining, Darren's now got a tough job on his hands to convince them they should take a $100,000 punt on his bike and merchandising business in exchange for 40% of the company.
I think you're incredibly passionate about what you're doing, which is really good to see, and you've obviously gone to a lot of trouble to put together your prototypes and everything else that you've done, so I think you should feel proud of yourself from that perspective, but I'm out.
I'm just looking at the big picture, because if you're going to have a dream, you've got to dream big.
The proposal is really too vague, because what you're really trying to do is raise funds for a feasibility study, as opposed to offering a concise business that we could invest in. So from my point of view, I'd be out.
4 Dragons could see nothing new in Ricky Triktrike and are out. Only Julie Christie remains. So far, she's liked Darren's 3-wheelers, but will she back his idea with the $100,000?
I wish I could invest, actually. There's several reasons. I'm keen on anything which gets them away from computers. I just can't get over that fact that children want to get off the 3-wheeler and the outriggers and onto the 2-wheeler. You should have brought your son here and showed me what he could do on it. I can see absolutely with the merchandising, I can see the show. If you'd come here and you'd said, I want 25 grand for a feasibility study, I would have been in.
All right, well, thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to be here.
Darren's failed to find an investor for his Triktrikes. Despite his enthusiasm, none of the Dragons could see large turnover in 3-wheel bikes, and he's left the den empty-handed.
God, I hope he makes it.
Yeah, I do too, isn't it? There's something
He's a nice guy.
Heartwarming about the bloke.
They are cool. It would have to become a trend like yo-yos. Everyone's got to have a Triktrike.
Darren, they loved your passion. They thought it was a great product, but they just didn't see a business opportunity there.
Yes, well, that is a shame. I can see the big picture, global, every child that desires one having one, and reading the books and all the other toys that go with it.
But you still think it was worth coming up here? Do you think you'll get something out of this?
Well, you learn a lot out of everything that you do, whether it be the wrong road that you take or the right road. And it is a journey and it is a passion, and I have my goals and I won't stop until I see it to the very end.
Well, I too admire your passion. I think it's a fantastic product and you're obviously completely committed to it, so best of luck with it.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. After the break, Ella Henry's come to Dragon's Den for an investment, but gets an altogether different offer.
Would you consider a marriage proposal? No children?
We have between us 7 children.
I'm talking about me. I'm offering to marry you.
Ella Henry is convinced her business, supplying permeable paving, will put her on the road to success. But will the Dragons agree? She's asking for $250,000 for 25% of her business. And remember, she has to get at least that, or she goes home with nothing.
Kia ora. My name's Ella Henry and I'm here representing a company called Permapave New Zealand. Permapave is a product essentially that does this. We take stone, any kind of stone, that can be cone ground into 5 to 10 mil fines, and we combine it in a process that is patented by the parent company. So I need to say from the outset that Permapave New Zealand doesn't own the recipe. What we do own is the exclusive rights to manufacture and distribute Permapave products in New Zealand and in 4 countries of the South Pacific. Now, you may know that everything that goes down a stormwater drain, by and large, ends up in our marine environment. What we are able to do with the permapavers here is ensure that so long as your groundwater, so long as you can manage it as groundwater, the rainwater falls and goes straight back into the ground and thereby feeds the natural aquifers. Since we began in 2004, we have been focusing primarily on councils, local and national government, because that's where we think we can make the most impact, because they are the ones who are funding and designing roadways, pathways, and in particular where we have done our work in the last year and a half, parkways. And we'd like to sell 25% of Permapave New Zealand for $250,000.
Ella Henry's been very honest about her company, so will the fact that she doesn't own the royalties for permapaving discourage the Dragons? Bob Jones wants to know more about the business opportunity.
What are you going to do with the money, Ella?
We're currently seeking contracts and tendering on contracts, in particular with Waitakere City Council, which is where we live. If we get both those contracts, we're going to have to double our capacity. We're going to have to double our factory space. We believe that with $120,000, we can set up a bigger factory. So we can move our existing factory into a bigger premises, and the rest of the money will be operating expenses.
Are you doing this business full time?
I'm not. My husband is. I started work in a factory, 40 years ago, and I'm kind of hoping I don't end up in one.
So your husband's running the business?
I do the administrative, the financial management. I keep all the contracts, and I have, and I will work on the site if I need to, and in the factory if I need to. But I'm 52 and fat. I'm not much use in those factories,
An ability to laugh at herself, combined with her clear and concise plan to grow permapaving, has impressed the Dragons. But does the business actually make any money?
What's the cost for current alternative paving?
The cheapest paving material currently available to councils is hot mix. You can get that for about $30 to $35 a square metre. Halfway decent concrete will cost you in the area of $35 to $50 a square metre. By comparison, we are expensive. For small contracts, we're $200 a square metre installed. By and large, the cost to us of producing those was $120 per square metre.
What does that go down to if you double your capacity?
We're convinced we can take down under 100.
How far under 100?
We're slightly in uncharted water here.
Sure.
This is calculations, you know, around base costs.
Yeah.
But we think we can get it down to 80.
Okay.
It's a fairly healthy business proposal Ella has put before the Dragons. So will the 2 potential council contracts and the ability to cut factory costs tempt any of them to invest the $250,000 for a 25% share?
I know nothing about paving. I believe that focusing and only having the potential for 2 contracts is potentially a recipe for disaster. You've got a long way to go in a successful small business, but I'm out.
What's the licensing fee we're paying? Is it based on turnover?
We had an upfront fee, which we paid, and...
How much?
$135,000 New Zealand.
Just for the rights to do it for New Zealand?
Yeah, New Zealand, Fiji, Samoa, Tonga and Rarotonga.
So the Achilles heel of this is that if it's an outrageous success, 7 years from now, the people who hold the licensing ownership, the IP, could go out for tender.
Conceivably, we could make this company extremely successful over the next 5 years and then be turfed out. There are dispute resolution, there are a range of
You could lose it, no matter how nice they are at the moment. It's a business that can only be guaranteed to last 7 years. I'd be out. The reason for that is that the key thing on your balance sheet is the ownership of the IP. So my advice to you would be, before you do anything else, go back to those guys who own it and tie that up, buy that, because that will be your asset base and that's what will create you the wealth at the end of the day.
I think it's a little bit limiting, being a licence that's subject to some form of renewal which is unclear. I'd have to say I'm out as well.
3 Dragons are out. The stumbling block for Ella is she doesn't own the intellectual property. She merely holds a 7-year licence with the Australian parent company. So will Julie Christie or Bob Jones look past this hurdle and see a profit in perma-paving?
What are the weaknesses of the product?
The weaknesses of the product are if you live near to beaches, it's problematic because people bring sand. Particularly fine white sand beaches can clog up the paver, and that does mean that it requires more maintenance, more steam cleaning, which of course boosts the long-term cost. It's only been in the ground for 6 years in Queensland, so nobody really knows how long it lasts.
I'm out because I don't think that in this country you'll ever sell enough, basically, to make a truly profitable business. But that doesn't change the fact that I think you're exceptional.
You talk about your partner, you're not married to it?
No.
Would you consider a marriage proposal? No children?
We have between us 7 children.
I'm talking about me, I'm offering to marry you. Yeah, waking up and not listening to a lot of nonsense in the morning would be wonderful. Anyway, look, I do know a little bit about this area, just a smidgen, and you actually have a product that I am aware there is an enormous demand.
Yes.
Still a little bit untidy about your comments about your ongoing rights. You know, all the effort goes in at the start, as you know, Ella, and then to have it ripped off you.
I haven't in 1.5 to 2 years had cause for concern, but because we do have provisions that should they wish to cancel after 7 years, they would have to be able to prove that we had not met our contractual obligations, we had not paid our royalties on time, we were not being good partners.
I'm definitely in. I think you're onto something. For a $250,000, I think that's a great idea, good product, much in need. And so we have to pursue these things a bit further, but I'm in.
As an investor in commercial property, Bob Jones could see a need for Ella's product, so he's bypassed any negotiating and taken the 25% stake in perma-paving in exchange for $250,000.
You, Bob, have bought Ella, and she's worth every cent. She is very, very good.
She's good, and she's got a great product.
I mean, that woman, if we had her running something...
She's good.
She knew.
She was clever, articulate, she knew her product.
We won't see many like them, I'm sure.
So, Ella, they liked the product, they loved the pitch, they thought you were fantastic. Was it as easy as you made it seem?
I don't know, I'm passionate about permapave, so it was everything that I wanted to tell the whole world about.
However, the toughest nut to crack was Bob Jones, and he was all for it. What do you think of that?
I think his background, Sir Bob's background in business and development in particular, and problems that councils face, had a lot to do with the way he understood the technical aspects of permapave, and hopefully that helped convince him as well.
And the marriage proposal, of course, that was thrown in out of the blue?
I think that may not go ahead, though.
Are you going to say no to that?
I'm thinking so.
Well,
but who knows? It's early days in our relationship.
Well, many congratulations. Very well done.
Thank you.
Thanks to Annette Presley and Paul Webb, cheerleading looks set to grow here with a $250,000 injection. And Ella Henry sealed a deal with Bob Jones for her paving business. Sadly, Lisa Talbot and Darren Wilson haven't realised their dreams. But like many entrepreneurs who come to the Den, it's merely the first hurdle on the long road to success. Goodbye.
Half the population must be sleeping on the floor if there's an average of 2.4 beds in every house.
To capture waste that another machine's made is hardly strikingly innovative.
I think the product would probably be used if people did understand the horrific nature and implications of having a moustache.